Good evening, lunatics. It is October 21st, 2023, Saturday night, and we are ready for another episode of the podcast. It's been an eventful week. Wow, what a week. We've had excitement. If you've been following us on TikTok, you would be aware of some drama we had down in Charlotte the other night. So I'd like to take this opportunity to say to a guy named Tim Davis that runs PCR Recovery, I hope you have 6 weeks of unending diarrhea and your dick falls off. One of our drivers made an unfortunate choice to park somewhere he should not have parked. He did not do the 30 seconds of research it would have taken, and he got caught by one of these parking scammers that booted his truck, and it took $2,500 to get it released. Now, before everybody says I would have cut it off, the guy wouldn't leave him alone, and unless he was going to get into a physical altercation, which I'm sure all of y'all would. Everybody in the comment section on TikTok are all martial arts artists, and they were going to jump out of the truck and, throw down with this guy. Our driver chose not to engage in any sort of physical violence. Somebody's going to one of these days. Let's see. Everybody give me a heads up on our broadcast quality real quick, because my computer is showing me something.
No sound.
I got that fixed.
Now a high pitched frequency.
Yeah. Willie, you were a little bit late.
You caught a key word, but you didn't get the context.
So Dwayne says he has a feedback noise.
Speaking of Willie,
that's weird. Royal Rice says he hears it. Yet I don't hear it. Do you? You don't hear it, do you? You just went away.
He's Excuse me?
You just went away. Like I lost your audio.
You didn't. You didn't. Let me check my.
Amazes me how well all this works until we hit the button. Royal Rice says he heard it in the last episode too. Rocky says there's a high squeal.
I don't get any of that.
Okay, so I just listened to us on YouTube, and I do not hear through my phone, and I do not hear any sort of high squeal. Let me check on Facebook and see what that sounds like. And I have no squeal on YouTube or on Facebook either on my phone. So I don't know what to tell y'all.
I don't either. You're as clear as a bell.
Yeah, hey, mute that. Richie says he hears it.
I've also got on my end, I'm on.
Well, Larry, I can tell that you're having bandwidth problems because I've got red bars on you. There's something preventing your. You've got a bandwidth issue. So mine's showing perfect, but yours is very, very, very bad. So you might have to restart your your thing. Make sure you've got everything shut down on your computer that's not Google Chrome. Don't have Safari open. Don't have Mail open. Shut down everything you can shut down. Okay, so
Well, I have to have Safari open.
Yeah, all right. He's gone. We'll bring him back here in a second. See what happens. This is so weird because I got people saying it's crystal clear and others saying it's not. That's fascinating. Rooster on TikTok says it does it every time you talk.
Me or you?
No, me. So you're back. Let's see.
Well, I never left.
Oh. Well, according to the thing, there you are. Okay, you're green now.
Weird.
Yeah, so that one guy on TikTok says it does it every time I talk, which is weird. He says it's on my end. Unbelievable.
Never mind. That's on Restream.
Okay, did that make any difference? I turned off a processor that's on the board. All right. Anyway, so to start over, since we've had people come in, one of our drivers got booted the other night in Charlotte. He parked somewhere he should not have parked. He could have done 30 seconds of research on Google. He did not. They came along. They wanted $2,500. They ran wire ropes through his wheels and put padlocks on it. It wasn't on the windshield. It wasn't, a boot like you're thinking on a steer tire. But the guy wouldn't leave me alone. So, the idea of him going out there and cutting it off. I've heard people say, which maybe should have been the thing for the driver actually to locally call 911 and say, "Hey, I've been kidnapped," and hung up. They'd come running. Because I've seen people say that the cops will just say it's a civil matter, or try to cut it off and then see what happens. But, when you're in a situation like that, if someone is crooked enough to charge you $2,500 to basically release you from being kidnapped, they're probably unscrupulous enough to do something violent to you. The bottom line here is that location has lots of Google reviews that say, don't park here. Don't park here. They'll charge you $1,000 or $2,000 or $6,000. So don't park here. And that could have, because the driver was 2 miles from a truck stop. He could have gone to a Love's, to a Pilot, to a Flying J. There's lots of places that he could have gone, and he didn't. So the bottom line here that we all need to learn from this is, drivers, you are responsible for your decisions of where you park. And if you park somewhere where there's a crook waiting to kidnap you and hold you for a $2,500 extortion, and you could have avoided it, that's what we need to focus on here. But this bunch, PCR Recovery, Charlotte, North Carolina, they're listed as a legitimate business on the North Carolina Secretary of State's website. But that was one of the points that I tried to make on TikTok. Somebody had commented and said, "Well, we're in the wrong business." And I thought, that's an interesting statement, because it's our belief that the only reason that a business exists is to provide value to its customers and return a profit to its owner. This outfit is not doing either of those. It's turning a profit.
They're returning a good profit to the owner.
Yeah. It's turning a great profit to the owner. But what it's it's not providing any real value to the community. It's just extortion. It's just legalized theft and extortion. And I pretty much said as much when I was talking to the guy on the phone, and he didn't appreciate that. And so, and your connection is really bad
I have a
yet again.
I have a technical question for you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
How? Why is my image reversed and yours is not?
It might be something in the settings, but you're having your bandwidth is down to almost nothing now again. And when you talk, it will hold and then it'll spit out a bunch of words. And your video, I'm looking at your video right now, is completely frozen. So I don't know if you're going to have to like try to reset the router or something.
But I mean, my when I do a speed test, it's crazy fast.
I don't know what the deal is then, because it just sucks. I mean now it's green. So anyway, I guess let's try to continue.
Last time all this was you accusing me was you. I have, as we speak right now, I have 595 down, and I have almost 30 up.
Well, it's showing. I've got a little meter on the page that you can't see, but I can see. And not right now, it's green. It's perfect. But then it goes away. Mine stays consistently green. Never enough. Says he got tagged by the same company in Mount Holly, west side of Charlotte. Called 911. Cops made them take it off and said it was a civil matter. My company never got a court date. Okay, well, there you go. I think that's probably what we should have. I kept trying to call the police, but I kept trying to call a non-emergency number. And all of these different locations for Charlotte Mecklenburg Police would just tell you to leave a voicemail or call 911. Well, if I call 911, I'm going to get to people 5 miles from me. I'm not going to get Charlotte PD. So I guess if you are, if you face one of these crooks, you're just going to have to call the cops and see if the cops will show up. You know, and of course, I filed a complaint with the North Carolina Secretary of State's office. That's probably 10 minutes of my life I'll never get back. You know, so pretty much is what it is. Phil, no, I wish he would have called 911, but he didn't. I didn't think to have him call 911. You know, if you Google, you know, this issue and Charlotte, it comes up. It's the news people have reported on it, and you know, this is not news, so they shouldn't be surprised that these people are out there doing this stuff. You know, so I guess it kind of is what it is. You know, it's unfortunate. Yes, our podcast is on Apple and Spotify. You just search Blue Ribbon Podcast and it'll come up. I mean, listen, I've seen all the stories when it happens, and I never really thought, for whatever reason, it would happen to one of ours. And now it has. And, you know, so now we've experienced it, and we've told everybody, you know.
Well, but let's be completely. But let's parked in a space during the daytime with a sign that clearly says no parking for semis, $2,000 parking fine.
I don't know that that's what the sign said, but there is a no parking sign there, 100%. So that is true.
So when you park somewhere where it says no parking, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, in 25 years of trucking, there's been lots of times I've gone places that said no trucks. I mean, we literally have, you'll have a place where there's a customer, and then, you know, some group of idiots on a city council will put up a no truck sign. I dealt with it at a Dollar General one time. It's somewhere in Ohio, and I'm parked behind the Dollar General, and a cop comes up to me and says trucks aren't allowed here. I'm like, how the hell do you think this Dollar General is going to get the stuff that it needs to stay open? Well, our mayor doesn't like trucks, and I'm like, well, your mayor needs to be cold and hungry and naked and kiss my ass. Um, but that was that was before the internet and Google Maps to where you can look this place um, you can look this place up
So,
and
Chris, just a note here, okay?
yeah.
High pitch is still there by somebody, and on my screen, your image is not mine. I'm looking at it on Restream video, but I haven't heard this house.
Yeah, I mean, I what I don't understand. I've got this connected um to my soundboard, listening to it through Bluetooth. I hear nothing, no high pitched noise whatsoever.
But I just saw you go blurry though, and then your voice kind of came in
Uh,
out. But I'm looking at that monitor.
well, let me make sure that all the kids. I just told all my family to make sure they get off of that they're not streaming or anything and using up bandwidth. But I don't know. It's fascinating to me because I can listen to YouTube on my phone and I
Well,
don't hear anything.
this is a topic you just you just you just cut out just then.
Go ahead, talk.
I was just saying this topic comes up a lot in the trucking media. So obviously it's something that people are doing because they want to take advantage. No, 10 the company's going to pay it, and it's obviously worth their while. Wouldn't be doing it. Um, but end of the day, until there's some type of and it's going to be different with every state. That's going to be the problem. There's not going to be a federal law that's going to cover this. It's every state or even probably every municipality is going to be different. But as long as everybody hates trucks, this is not going to change. What has to happen is you got to protect yourself by not doing the thing. Like you said, yes, you do. You have gone down a place where it says no trucks, and that's a decision that you make. And when you make that, you understand there may be consequences. So it's just a fact that if you're going to do things that are against what somebody who owns that property states, you're not going to be have a lot of things to argue about when it doesn't go your way.
Keep talking. I'm trying something.
Well, somebody said, yeah, but you said the Love's right down the road. No excuse for the driver parking there. And that's just one of our new guys, and he's still learning how to look for to make decisions on his own, and yeah, he quite frankly he just did not take the time to look and see what was around him. He just went to the closest thing, and he was bobtail because he left his trailer for him to unload. They wouldn't let him stay on the property. Of course, this was an Amazon customer. Y'all all know how that works. So he just bobtailed across the street, and thinking he'd just be there for a little while. and bam, you got busted. But anyway, it was frustrating, but I mean, I think there was a lesson learned there a little bit. So moving on to some other news. Obviously, everybody I think saw the convoy news yesterday. It's kind of interesting how that worked out. Um, and don't know what to really. All that the brokers are getting rich because they skim all the money off the top. I guess that then isn't exactly what you think. Because if they could have skimmed money off the top and stayed in business, I'm sure they would have. But that was obviously one of the first digital freight matching companies that was in operation. So maybe that's going to be a challenge for that particular segment of the industry. I don't know. It'll be interesting to hear what you guys say. Um, Andrew Bosworth, Convoy proves blockchain is a complete failure. Blockchain in a complete failure. Government regulations are going to make everything fair. One load per person, and everyone must wait until everyone has a. I don't think that's the case, but I appreciate your opinion.
So here's what's weird. Um, if I use the same thing that I use on TikTok, it appears to be working. So that's what I've done. Um, because TikTok seems to be working and not having the same problem. I'm just not sure if our um, I'm not sure if our I need to know on YouTube specifically and Facebook um,
Okay,
is
we got some comments. Somebody switched over to TikTok from YouTube, and I'm fine now.
yeah.
The guy before it says, "Sound is great for me. Keep digging."
All right. Here's what I need to know on Facebook and YouTube: does our sound match our lips? Um, I just because if
On
if it
YouTube.
is, we're good. If it doesn't,
Okay.
um, I had to do a different thing. So anyway, but because I just noticed that TikTok is fine. TikTok doesn't have a
Okay.
problem. It was
Right.
YouTube. So
So
um,
on Restream, am I looking at YouTube live on
okay,
Restream?
Richie said it matches. Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Um, YouTube still has ear ringing, but yes, sound. Lord have mercy. I would love to know what you guys are hearing. Somebody screen record this. Richie, I want you to screen record this and then text it to me. Because I cannot recreate it on my own phone listening to myself, which is bizarre of how you can hear something, but I can't hear it.
Now somebody's saying there's an echo, but I'm not hearing that either.
Yeah. Um, okay. So now what were we talking?
we were kind of winding down on the
Yeah, I want to see this Andrew Bot. So Convoy proves blockchain. Oh, in a complete failure, government is
the
going to make everything fair. Okay, right. One loop per person. Everyone must wait until. Yeah. What blockchain is going to do is it's going to um, um, it's going to provide that transparency that everybody thinks they want, but they don't really want it because the way the market operates now, unfortunately, it can hide and mask the the bad behavior of people, and blockchain's going to do away with all that. So if you provide bad service, you'll never be able to outrun it. Um, that's going to be the big problem for you when we get to blockchain, because um, if you suck, everybody's going to know you suck, and you'll never be able to outrun that stain. Conversely, if you're great, everybody's going to know that as well. Um, so Yeah.
Even Richie's hearing the scream.
Okay. Richie. All right. Richie just sent me a screen
Willie's
record.
saying he's going to close down YouTube. Is there a way? Our YouTube feed recycle, reconnect,
Okay. So I just listened to the screen.
refresh?
I just listened to the screen recording that that Richie sent me, and I don't hear anything. I hear no squealing. I don't hear anything except crystal clear audio.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's bizarre.
Audio just went blurry when you just said that to me.
Okay. I don't know what to take, bro.
Richie's screaming at you. How did you not hear that?
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it at all. Not a bit.
That's so weird.
I mean it. I don't know.
Well, we'll try to plow through this while you look at another comment. Is it worth buying a used truck for parts? Yeah, we're getting ready. Actually, we're getting ready to do that. So, that very thing. So we got a friend of the of ours that is got an older Volvo, and the engine's been got a Detroit engine. It's been rebuilt recently, and there's a problem with the frame, and so it's not really practical or usable on the road. But it's got lots of good parts on it, so we're going to do that. And
It's
we've actually bought a couple of trucks that have been totaled back from the junkyard for salvage for that very reason, because it had good parts on it, and we paid so little for it. Just the tires off of it were worth more than what we paid for it. So yes, I agree with that.
the thing about buying a truck for parts. The biggest hurdles are, one, you got to have a place to put it, right? Two, if you're going to pull a motor or a transmission or something out of it, you got to have some big equipment. Now, we're fortunate to have a shop that has a forklift, and some lift and transmission jacks. But I mean, I've also watched Carl build a transmission jack out of an old floor jack and the remains of a passenger seat. You know, so um, if you have someone that you can kind of partner with, where you can, um, uh, have them have a place to put it, because it doesn't take long to strip one down. I mean, you could strip one down in a day, get the motor and transmission out of it, strip everything you want to, haul it off to the junkyard. But it's not, a lot of people are not going to be able to just set a big truck in their front yard without some sort of consequences, either from inside the house or outside the house. So that's going to create a challenge for you. But as far as just the mathematical equation, does it make sense to buy a used truck for parts? Absolutely. You just got to ask yourself, how practical is it for me to buy a truck for parts, and then where am I going to put these parts? How am I going to get them out? That kind of stuff. So that can be the challenge. But it's definitely definitely worth it, 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you got to have a way of managing it, a way to probably got to have a way of getting it to you. You're going to tow it to yourself, obviously, and you're going to have to store it. But
Oh, hey, so on TikTok, Carl, who I believe is someone that commented a few weeks ago, says he just got let go from Convoy on Friday. Carl, you
Mhm.
need to send me an email. We need to have a conversation. Do we hire out of West Texas? It's not that we don't hire out of West Texas. I just can't get you home. You know, so if you want to come do the program and not get home very much, just understand from day one, you're not. It's not like you're going to get home every weekend in West Texas because there's no freight. Is OPS worth it? Absolutely, 100% worth it. We have, I don't know, 5 million miles that we've tracked with an OPS. We have a Mercedes with 1.8 million miles on the original engine that's had 4 oil changes in its life. OPS, even if you don't do extended drains, the data that you're going to get from doing oil samples every 25,000 miles is going to pay for the cost of the installation, $1,200-$1,300,
Well,
by saving you.
the OPS in and of itself is not going to provide that. It provides you a way of getting it, taking it easily, but you still have to actually participate in the oil sample program,
Right.
by taking the samples and sending them into the lab and then looking at the results and interpreting those and applying it to your situation. So, I mean, in that regard, the OPS is not going to do that for you. It allows you to do it rather easily. Um, but I mean, just we've got two complete episodes about this.
Yeah.
There are multiple advantages to it. There's three major advantages to the OPS. It saves you money if you'll take advantage of extended drains. It also saves you money because you have fresh oil all the time, and so you have less wear and tear on the motor, and so you're not going to be Mercedes we're talking about 1.8 million miles. Nobody's ever had a Mercedes engine go 1.8 million miles that I've ever heard of without
Right.
having to have an in-frame or any major work. And then the second thing is you always know the health of your engine because of the sampling program. You always know what's going on long before. Right now, we know about trucks that have fuel dilution or coolant intrusion or whatever way before it's a problem. Because it had to have happened in the last 25,000 miles because that's the interval of our sampling program. And then, of course, lastly, the help me, Chris. I just lost my train of thought.
That train left a long time ago.
Um,
Hey, Evan Boone on TikTok says, my family owns a large moving company. Would you be interested in a 2005 Freightliner? My first thought was maybe. Then he said, with a Mercedes. And nope, no thank you. We have the one Mercedes they ever built. We don't need another one. We do not hire out of California. That is a 100% no. And here's
way
one.
back,
Go ahead.
Chris, way back, the first comment, never enough. You guys must be busy. I put an application on Tuesday. Let me confirm that.
Let's consult the book of knowledge. Well, I think I saw one come in.
Do those come in on podcasts or on loads?
Those come in on loads. Driver application, October 18th.
Well,
That
I
was
don't know his
Wednesday.
handle. What was it? October 18th.
It's Spokane, Washington. If you're Spokane, Washington, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's if that's you that you didn't get called back because we have no way of hiring you from Washington. So you have to understand we kind of vet these by geography first, and for the very reason Chris said. I mean, number one, we don't run there. Our trucks don't really go west of 35. With very often, if ever, and we don't have freight relationships there, and there's no way you're ever going to get home. So we don't even go there because who wants to do that? Who wants to do this and never go home? So,
right. Philip Brown was asking about, how does oil not lose its viscosity? And Rocky answered him, but I'll answer it for everybody else. Oil has been in the ground millions of years. We have been marketed to and sold over, these last many years. Well, you have to change it every 3,000 miles or 5,000 miles or 15,000 miles, but nobody can say why. Well, just do it. Just shut up and do what we tell you. But we can tell you that we have, again, millions of miles of oil analysis that we have studied personally, plus all of the people around us that we know that have used these products for years. That you can, when you can send oil to a lab and the lab says the oil's good. Here's the viscosity numbers. Here's the base number. Here's every line item about that oil. And again, go to episode 108. No. Yeah. I think it's 108.
Yeah, there's two.
There's two or three episodes where we talk in depth about OPS on the YouTube channel. You have to search Blue Ribbon OPS. I promise it'll show up in your friend Google. So, but it's like this meme that we saw the other day, and it's, and it's a man and a woman sitting at a table, and one of them, I think it's the man, says to the woman, let me interrupt your experience with my confidence. Everybody's confident that we're making it up, but I mean that would be fine. But the difference when you see someone you'll call a charlatan or a snake oil salesman, well, they generally don't have the data to back up what they're saying. We do. We have the fuel mileage data when we talk about tires. We have the oil sample data when we talk about oil.
It, it's not even we. I personally bought the OPS in 2009. I put it on my truck. I don't. It's none of this is hearsay. The truck with 1.85 million miles on it was my truck, and so it's I don't it whether you believe it or not doesn't really matter to me because I don't give a crap really. But if you want to learn and you'll listen, um, the one thing you're going to find out about what we do here is everything we do here. Number one is based on numbers, and it's also backed up by data and facts. It's not how we feel. We completely just ignore what somebody else says. Okay, because if we don't personally do it ourselves, we don't talk about it. So, this all this thing about this is like Chevy and Ford. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
everybody has their bias and their prejudice, and it's all how they were raised. Well, I was raised doing this, and I was raised doing that. That's all great. Okay, but when presented with factual data, if you can't take that and integrate that into your thinking, so that you can maybe improve on some things, then that's on you. Okay, that doesn't mean that. I mean, the technology is there. The data is there. The thing about losing most if you're losing viscosity, it's because you got a fuel intrusion or a coolant intrusion. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you're gaining viscosity, it's because you got soot. I mean, all these things, or you're putting Lucas in your oil. All
Right.
these things can be found. There's a way of finding out how it's happening. And so all this wives' tale about oil, we discuss a little bit of that in that episode. We also had a representative from Shell
Yep.
on one of our episodes, and of course she's a factory person, and I kind of challenged her a little bit, but some of the things that she said backs up what we talk about. So it's you don't listen. You don't if you don't want to do it, if you want to change your oil over 15,000 miles because that's how your daddy did it. That's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm telling you, it's not necessary if you will keep your oil clean. And if you have a bypass oil filtration system that will clean 11 gallons in a day, your oil's always going to be clean. There's more than just the OPS, but the OPS is the only one that I know of that also takes the liquid contaminants out. All of them filter solids, but I don't only know of one that filters out liquid contaminants. That's why we use the one we use. So if you really want to know all about it, then do the research. Yeah, we're recommending it. And by the way, in all fairness, yes, we now are sponsored by Pittsburgh Power, who owns OPS. But that happened last year, and I've been doing this since 2009. So we're they're supporting us because we already approved their products. We didn't approve it just because they started sponsoring us. That makes
Dude,
sense.
I'm correct. By the way, I turned my headphones down. So let me know if your squeal goes away. Maybe I just had my headphones cranked up too high. But I'm dying at these YouTube comments. 412 HWC says, do they have anything truly constructive to talk about how they run cheap cash trucks? To which Royal Rise replies, I see you want to order a Larry Long special. Will you be paying with cash or card? Well, Royal, those Larry Long specials are usually free. I ain't buying nobody's shit, but the only trick in this industry they have is buy a $10,000 truck, TRUCC, and put 50. Well, no, um, that's not what we say. That's not even close to what we say. Um, here's that, there's a fascinating there's a fascinating thing that you can do in 2023. You can hear someone say something like, we buy trucks for $10,000. And you can go, I've never heard that before. And then you can go do the research. This is literally episode 182. Now, what that means is that there were 181 episodes that preceded this one. And I would say that the average length of our episodes is probably an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. So if oh my gosh, I don't have the BSE 9000 with me because I had it today, but I'm just going to take 181 and multiply it by 1.5. That's 3,000 hours that we have spent talking about everything that we do, why we do it, how we do it, what's the reasoning behind it. And so, what we're not going to do, and what we don't owe anyone, is for us to put 3,000 hours into communicating what we do and then be expected to solve all your questions for you in 32 seconds. So that's not going to happen. But if you're a truck driver, all you got time to do is listen. So I would probably suggest maybe you just go on over to iTunes or Spotify or podcast, any podcast app, any possible podcast app you can find, and you could peruse through some of those 3,000 hours, and most of your questions are going to get answered. I know that we live in a microwave society, but this is crockpot world over here. It's low and slow. It takes a little time, because you kind of got to hear it a couple of times. But we have talked so much about everything that we do, what we do, how we do it, why we do it, that I will never, ever, as long as I live, apologize to anyone for hurting their feelings, because I say that we tell people to buy a truck for $10,000 or less, maybe up to $15,000 depending on the truck, and then put 25 or so in it, so that when you get up to that $40,000 number, you have got an absolute money-making machine, because the suspension's been gone through, the brakes have been gone through, the motor's been gone through, the transmission's been checked, the interior has been made a little bit nicer, and it's got better headlights, and everything works, right? And so those that say, oh, it's a DOT magnet. Okay, let's say, for example, no, this doesn't happen. I'm going to guess and say that we've probably had 10 roadsides in the last 5 years. But our trucks are so meticulously and expertly maintained that if a road pirate did climb underneath one, it's about a 98% pass rate, because they're going to go, wow, well, the brakes are new and the bushings are new and the transmission and the suspension is straight. Everything is perfect on these trucks.
They expect it to look used because it's a used looking truck. I mean, look, I've had that comment. I could take it in and get a 120 done back when I was driving. And the guy goes, man, I didn't expect this. Everything under here is new, Again, it's these biases that people have. Listen, I can't let this go by, okay? Because number one, we use our real names here, and I get phone calls every day, so I know you can find me on the internet. But when you come on here with some kind of a code name like 412 HWC, and you want to start throwing shade and everything, that's easy to do. When you're got the curtains closed on your cab and you're in there on your CB while you're jerking off, telling everybody how badass you are. But these two clowns you're talking about the same truck with 1.5 million miles for 3 years. Well, number one, it's 1.85 million miles. Let's get it straight. But we talk about it because it matters. Okay, it's an example of using this technology and this approach to maintenance, because it is a lunatic idea to most people.
It literally says it right on the screen.
Lunatics.
The lunatics.
Yeah. I mean, if you're coming on here expecting to hear regular truck stuff like they have on the Road Dog, that's not what you're going to hear here. We do things 180 degrees different than most of the industry. And guess what? We also don't see us on any of these shows complaining about the brokers and the government and the prices and the rates and everything, because we don't have to. We make money. And I'll also throw this out to you. All the trucks I see on on Facebook all the time and all the things. I'm selling my truck because I'm getting out. None of them are old trucks. Those are all new trucks. Okay. If they are old trucks, they're the wrong old trucks. Okay. Because they're 379 Pete's. So, you can't, first of all, understand this. We do this for information only. I could give a rat's ass whether you take this and use it or not. Okay. This is our marketing arm because we need about 15 drivers every year and a half. And we know for a fact that 125,000 people listen to these things through to the end. And out of those 125,000 people, we typically can get the 15 people that we need. That's how
Right.
we do this. It's a marketing thing for us. If you believe it, great. If you don't believe it, I don't care. Okay. Because 15 people will, and they'll come over here because they agree with what we do. And we can teach them how then to be successful in this business that most of you guys are failing in. All right.
Uh,
So that's why we do it. And
So,
I'm,
and here's a perfect example. Okay. We had a TikTok that went to almost 1 million views. It's one where I absolutely hurt everybody's feelings over tires. Okay. I went and looked at the analytics of that video. Now, if I'm remembering right, that video was like 99 seconds long. Okay. The average watch duration was 45 seconds. So that means that the average person that came by watched half of the video, probably left an ignorant, incoherent, stupid comment and left. 12% of those views were people that watched the whole thing. All right. So when you do the math, it was 125,000 people that watched that whole video. And there's a TikTok right here or comment on TikTok, Danny Struther, owner of 190 trucks with a brokerage. I lurk in the chat. Keep up the good work. And he says he also owns a shop. So the unfortunate truth of social media is, like Larry said, there's a maximum capacity we have. 15, 20 trucks is all that our little tiny company can handle. But when you expose yourself to millions of people, in order to get the social media thing to work, you have to engage these trolls, right? Um, and I've taken over the last few days, I've blocked a few people. The trolls I don't care about, as just somebody that comes by and says a stupid comment. But there are people that ask genuine questions because they're genuinely curious. I'm interested in those people. I do want to answer good questions. But the ones that come back to every video over and over and over again just to be a jackass, now you're gone. I blocked, right? I'm done with you.
yeah, I mean, it's not a jury here. We're not trying to convince, or convict, or I mean, it's our information. Okay, you're challenging us. I mean, I'm going to promise you one thing. Let me guarantee you this. Okay, you're not going to change the way we do things. All right, you're no matter how much you don't like what we do or how much you don't believe what we say. That doesn't affect anybody. All it does is if I'm getting the mood and I drink enough bourbon, I'm just going to wear your ass out on the episode. But beyond that, it doesn't matter because nobody really cares. All right. You understand? We're looking for a drop of liquid in a ocean. And the rest of the ocean we could care less about. Okay. It doesn't really matter. It's entertainment. If it gets you excited and you want to get on here and argue a little bit, that's great. That's entertainment. It's not going to change anything. Okay. But if you're struggling or you can't figure out how you want to do business, and let me reference Dwayne here. I want to buy my first lunatic truck. And whenever I tell others my plan, they all say, "What if it blows up the next day?" Well,
Great
first of
question.
all, Dwayne, quit asking everybody else, okay? Because what do they know? Do you think that they are not biased by the industry, thinking that buy a new truck with a warranty? Because those never blow up the next day. And
Right.
if you do, the warranty pays for it. Yeah, except for the truck payment that you're missing every week while it's in the shop,
Mm-hmm.
waiting to get worked on. So I don't buy that. And if you want to buy a lunatic truck and you like the model, please don't talk to anybody else because they're not lunatics. All right. And you have to be thick enough skin to tell them to leave you the fuck alone. Because all they're going to do is, oh, I told you that truck would break down. I told you that truck would break down. You know, I mean, here's the thing: all these things everybody talks about, with us having 10, 15 trucks, don't you think we'd have 10 or 15 times the problems? And we
Mm-hmm.
don't. Okay, and we don't. So
Well,
it's
and there's a
I just I just can't buy it.
but there's a very practical answer to that question too. What if, okay, because listen, we talk about managing risk. All right. If you're going to get into business, you have to manage risk, right? And that risk has has a dollar amount, or can have a dollar amount tied to it. Okay. So you save up the money and you pay cash for a lunatic truck. All right. Now you got it. You paid 10 grand. It's right there. All right. Now we're going to use cash again to fix it up. And we estimate that somewhere between $15,000 and $25,000 to fully lunatic it. Okay. So now you've spent 40,000 cash, but there's no payment. It's just sitting there. You haven't pulled a load with it yet, right? It's just sitting there. You get it leased onto a carrier. We're leased to Landstar. You lease it onto a carrier, and day one it throws a rod. Okay, put a motor in it. I mean, is it inconvenient? Yes. Is it unfortunate? Yes. Is it bad timing? Yes. But in all of the years that Larry's been doing this, and I've been here 5 years, and we've been doing this since I got here, we have yet to have a catastrophic failure with a truck. I'm going to pretty confidently say inside year one. Okay. So if you take our average, our experience, and you say, okay, we've never had a catastrophic failure inside year one, then the average is 1 year. Well, in 1 year, a truck should generate a profit of $150,000 to $200,000, of which you should be saving aggressively with your new business. So if you get to day 366 and it throws a rod, go on vacation while somebody puts motor in it, right? But I think it's hard for a lot of people to consider that cash basis, because ain't nobody in America debt free. Everybody's, except Larry, everybody's up their eyeballs in debt. So they can't think about, well, if I have a paid for asset sitting here and it's not costing me anything, and something happens to it, well, maybe I would have to go back to being a company driver. We had a guy contact us a couple weeks ago, a month ago, who had bought a crate motor from Detroit. All right. It had a 1 year, 100,000 mile warranty. And he literally went, what was it, 300 miles over the warranty? And it threw a rod, and they said, sorry about your luck. Now, we did some very light forensics on his operation, and we found out some of his decisions along the way probably contributed to his financial situation. He did a lot of things that we would not have done, which goes to what old 412 here is saying. They aren't the only ones who are winning or successful. We've never said that. We've never said that. What our mission in life and in business is to provide the tools and training for people that desire to be an owner-operator. They see the opportunity, as Larry's always said. They see the opportunity in the trucking industry, and we want to give them the tools that they can take to slowly get into the trucking industry and slowly work their way up to having a strong, sustainable, successful business. Because the one thing about our deal is it works every time. It works in every market. Up market it works, down market it works, medium market it works. Our business model works every single time. There are other business models that work some of the time, but ours works 100% of the time. There's never the brokers put me out of business. The president, the Congress, whatever. That doesn't happen to us, because the way we have structured things, the way we do business, the loads that we pick, the places that we go, everything is determined by the calculator. So No, it's not the only way to do business. It is the safest way to do business. It's the
Well,
most secure way
let
to
me
do
interject.
business. Go ahead.
Let me interject something, Chris. I notice on TikTok when we come on live, there's always this disclaimer right there that comes on. You know what I'm talking about? Something about we're leased to Landstar. Da, 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 da. Is that something you put in a
Just
profile
says
or something?
it just says small fleet leased to Landstar, right?
Okay. Well, here's what I want you to. I'll add to that or change it to.
Okay.
Okay. Because we have to say it every fucking episode because people don't listen. All right. We don't try to change the trucking industry. Our goal in life is not to go out and tell people that what they're doing is wrong. That's not what we do. We've never said that. Well, we have said about lease purchases. That is
Right.
wrong. But what we're here to do is to take the person who wants to buy their first truck and become an owner operator for the first time and give them an alternative way of doing it where they don't have to go in debt. They don't have to have a 13 or 15 or 16 or $1,900 a week truck payment through a lease purchase because the industry lets them think that that's the only way to do it. Okay. And we just try to show them a different way, a more risk free way, a way that they can do this without having a ton of money, maybe can do it without having to go into debt at all and still make money and build a solid business. And then after they've got money in the bank and they've got all the relationships built, if they want to go buy a 172-inch sleeper, I'm not going to criticize that. Okay. But y'all misunderstand this all the time that we're trying to tell you out there that's already got a truck, what to do. I mean, we may not agree with the decisions you made, and we may advise people that that might not be the best thing to do. Every now and then, somebody does finish a lease purchase. Okay. But
Mm-hmm.
99.9% of them don't. So so we're just talking about what we would recommend people to do to think about a different opportunity. I wasn't going to bring this up tonight, but I'm going to go. Now you've got me started. So, I am sick and tired. I am sick and tired of how this industry destroys people. You know, I mean, it's a every day. I mean, the tip of the iceberg is the only ones you see. There's literally thousands more that you never hear about, never read about, never know about. People that have been lied to by recruiters to even get in the industry, and then lied to by companies to keep in the industry because they think that the reason you're quitting is because you can't control your own destiny. Well, I can fix that. Sign this lease right here. You'll be your own boss. I mean, this industry just eats people up and spits them out. And th- that's there's no reason for that. And it's probably, I mean, how many people do you go through before you use them all up? Now we're going to take 18-year-olds and 21-year-olds because we've used up all the other people. They no longer believe the bullshit. So let's get somebody young that's young up. This industry sucks in that regard. And I'm just sick and tired of it. And you guys, it makes me sick. It makes me sick. And then here we are, trying to truly give a handful of people a real opportunity, risk free. You you know. Number one, we're not trying to find drivers to drive that shit.
Your audio is breaking up.
That they use to critical think with, and they don't care about what other people say, and they go, you know what, this might be a better way of doing it. And look, I'm not from the trucking industry. If we get outside of trucking into any other industry, what we do is normal. It's just abnormal here,
Right.
you know. Now it might be normal in other industries where they try to screw people to the ground, but this industry is horrible, and that's why we got people here that are desperate because they can't really make it on their own. So what do they want to do? Let's go drag the brokers down because that's our enemy. They don't need to be making any money because if they weren't there, I'd make more money. Or the mega fleet. Just pick it. All the things that you could attack. And then when that's all done, let's attack the government. Because I made all these stupid decisions, and now the government should make it work and make It's
Um, that was weird. So I could see the meter moving on TikTok, like they could hear you, but it cut out. It's freaking bizarre. Um, the thing that like you said, this industry sells a lie to people. And it's very, very easy to see who benefits. You know, that 2 words, who benefits, is the most important question you can ever learn to ask in your life, especially if someone is using any type of fear or pressure to try to get you to make a decision. Who benefits? Well, it's easy to see. Leasing companies, banks, carriers, you can see who benefits. Who benefits with us doing what we do? What we do. Of course, we've gone on and on and on about the state of truck repair in this industry, and I would gladly pay $200 an hour for somebody that was worth it. But you can't go to the supposed certified professionals who want $200 or $180, $200, $240 an hour, and they're not worth it. We have learned to find very, very small independent shops that will charge somewhere between 110 and 150, and we actually get that much value out of it. I don't have a problem paying somebody what they're worth. But I have a huge problem with you wanting $240 an hour, and then you give me $75 an hour worth back. That I'm not doing that. But again, with the new trucks and the warranty, you're forced to go to those people. Unless you go to Pittsburgh Power, you find someone who's an expert outside of that. But the old trucks are still an option. Unless you live in California, that's also easily fixed. It's called U-Haul. Just move, and leave that shithole state behind. But for the other 47 states, old trucks will still haul freight and will still make money. They will do it efficiently, they will do it reliably, and they will do it safely. And that's what we're here to do. But we know that there's a time coming where the old trucks won't be viable anymore. Now, old Mother Trucker on TikTok today had some video of a guy running a 1973 cab over, hauling, I guess, hogs or something. And I commented, and I'm like, well, I'm just here to wait for all the people. You can't make money with old trucks, and why don't it have a warranty? And someone on TikTok, I think, had asked, what about trucks from the 80s? Listen, a truck that will haul freight, I don't care. The issue you're going to have with trucks in the 80s is mechanical engines that are less efficient than the newer trucks. The Detroit Series 60, the N14, the ISX, even the 6NZ Cat, those electronic engines, if you drive them correctly, can be incredibly efficient, can be incredibly reliable. But we choose the C-120 Freightliner Columbia and Century platform because it is the cheapest truck to operate. The parts are cheap. They're easy to work on. They're very simply built. There's not a bunch of expensive stuff to worry about, CPCs and PNDBs and all these damn modules and shit you got to deal with. It's a cheap, efficient, reliable truck. That's it. Never once do I consider what's somebody at a stoplight going to think of me when they see this truck. I don't care. I couldn't care less. Matter of fact, I'm getting to the point now where I want to just start exchanging hoods on, take the blue hood and put it on the green truck just so that I can trigger those people and make their their. I want to see them have actual physical convulsions. I want to make my trucks as ugly as possible for no other reason than to just trigger truck drivers. You know that. Man, I really wish I could hear what you're saying right now, because I can see you lighting up. They can hear you, but I can't, and I have no idea why. Completely lost him, but you guys can hear him. 1, 2. Yep, I can hear myself. I can't hear a word you're saying. Well, now they're saying you're muted. Oh, God almighty. I can hear you fine on TikTok. I just can't hear. Oh, he's gone. Now he's back. Can you hear me now? No, I can't hear nothing. Can't hear nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now somebody's
There you go. I got you
hear us
back.
both. We're gonna have to get us a producer. You know, all the money we're making off this thing, we surely could afford to hire a producer.
I wish. I don't know. It's the damnedest thing. I mean,
What I was saying when you couldn't hear me is that we had somebody ask what if we provide our drivers a bag to put over their head
oh,
so they wouldn't be embarrassed to drive our trucks.
yeah, that was one of my
What
favorites.
we do, I know is a lot of people can't understand it. I get that, but it's not that we worry about it, but you know, um, it's and I don't expect you to understand it really. So, um, like I say, this is a marketing arm of our master class program to attract about a dozen to 15 people every year and a half that want to find a different way of doing things, and are also want to make sure that they stay financially sound or get financially sound in the process. We incorporate a lot of Dave Ramsey's financial advice in our program about paying things with cash, not being in debt, and that's what we choose to do. You don't have to agree with it. And I mean, look, if I didn't agree with you, I wouldn't watch your podcast. I mean, I don't watch podcasts anyway. So,
Right.
but I wouldn't watch yours if I didn't agree with you. I mean, the last thing I would do would troll it. So of course, I know you guys. A lot of you guys have nothing to do, but I've never had that problem. Have nothing to do. So,
Somebody says they were
I
recently
parked
parked.
next to your
Yeah.
flatbed. Yeah, it looked decent. Well, thank you. That's actually my trailer. I own that trailer. So, what else we got going on, Chris?
Matthew says that Chris, you once said you could take an '80s cab over and make money with it. You could just make more money in a lunatic truck. Yeah, I could take an '80s cab over and make money with it. I mean, I could take any paid for truck that I had gone through. But I mean, it's like, I'm a big gearhead, and I love to watch these guys build these drag cars and street rods and just ridiculous. What do you call them? Not a hot pro mod. No, that's not the word. Resto mod, right? Where you take like a '67 Shelby. I mean, you drop a new Coyote in it, or you take an old pickup truck and you put a Hellcat motor in it. I think that stuff's cool as hell, right? But there's no practicality. They're absurd. They're, and I love them and I want one, right? But when it comes to a truck, I need a truck that I can start, hook to a trailer, and efficiently go down the road. All right. My gauge is the fuel surcharge every week. I want to spend less on fuel than we get paid in fuel surcharge. We're able to do that with these trucks. That's our motivation. Now, would the boy in me love to take like an old Kenworth cab over and put a new updated motor in it? Sure. I think it would be awesome. But that's not practical, you know. Um, I just it's just about getting. We use the baby analogy. When you have a baby, you have to feed it for 3 or 5 years. If you don't, it will die. A business is the same way. Now, when you get to the point where your business is sound and you're making money, and if you decide to take a portion of that and you want to build a show truck, well, hell, go ahead. The problem is you cannot start on day one with a show truck. And so when everybody gets their panties in a wad that I say your first truck should not be a 379, your first truck should not be a 379 or a W9. Your first truck should be the cheapest truck that you can get your hands on, that you can make efficient and reliable, so that you can stay in business long enough so that someday, if you want to go stroke a check and buy that big show truck, you can. You own the truck instead of the truck owning you. But I think a lot of people get caught up in this insecurity of literally having their lives dictated by what they think someone else will think of them when they look at them. Well, fortunate for me, I don't give a shit. You know, I don't care what you think of me. I don't care what you think of my truck. I care what he thinks. I care what my family thinks. I care what my 2 or 3 closest friends think, and I'll listen to them. And if they say, you know, hey, I don't think you should do this different, then I'm going to listen. But somebody on the internet or somebody I drive past on the interstate, oh, I don't like the look of his truck. Okay. Well, just don't like it then, you know, because you know what happens when you get offended? Nothing. Literally nothing happens. Phil asked a question. Let me hit it. Well, go ahead. Go ahead and hit it.
There's a huge part of this country that thinks it's that it's normal and it should be expected that you have a car payment. Okay, that's just everyday life. And in this industry, it's expected. Well, I'm going to have a truck payment. You know, well, you got to spend money to make money. But it's not. That's not the only way of living your life. You do not have to go into debt to buy a car. Okay, you shouldn't go into debt to buy a car. You know why? Because cars depreciate. Okay, most people will never ever be able to retire and have financial independence because of car payments. Okay, if you have a car payment your whole life, and you figure out what the interest is you pay on those car payments, you know, and you invested that money every month to send it to a GMAC, it will make you cry the money that you wasted in your life. So it's not normal. It's normal for our culture because everybody wants it now. Nobody wants to wait and work for it. Got to have it now. You know, got to have a new truck. You can't go buy that junk and then the rationalization. Well, if I buy it, it's going to break down tomorrow. You know, that's just rationalization. You know.
When we see the in the Facebook groups on Landstar, you know, people will experience a problem. Hey, this problem happened. Why won't Landstar do something? And my response generally, not my actual, just my thought, because I don't waste a lot of time in there unless it's really juicy and I might jump in. But my thought is my reaction when I see that is first, your problem that you're facing right now is because you don't understand A, how the industry works, or B, how Landstar works. And if what you're what you're outlining here was a real problem, we would experience it times 10, but we don't.
Right.
So you're pointing out, oh, well, this happened to me, and yeah, it's terrible. Whatever it was terrible. It was inconvenient. It cost you money. It was frustrating. Yeah, I get all that, right? But the idea that it's a systemic problem that somebody can fix, well, no, that's not true, because if that were true, your problem that you just experienced, we would experience times 10, yet we don't. Well, why is that? Experience. We have that. You don't. We have policies and procedures in place, again, born from experience, to prevent a lot of those things from happening. And so it's funny, you'll come from a position of experience and say, oh, hey, yeah, listen, I understand what you're saying here, but here's a different way to look at it. I don't want to look at it a different way. I want Landstar to fix it. Well, you're going to be horribly disappointed, because they're not going to fix it.
Chris, the biggest reason we don't have those problems is because we don't hire truck drivers.
Right.
That's the number one reason.
I did a TikTok today that's going absolutely nowhere for some reason, less than 1,000 views. But there's an account I follow called Shannon, Gemini, something other. And I've followed her for a while. She's brokerage or dispatching or something. And she called it the Great Onion Larceny of 2023, where
I saw that.
She tells the story in two parts. It takes about 10 minutes to listen to the whole story. But basically what happened is a driver's on a 2,700 mile load of onions. He gets within 220 miles of the receiver, and the truck breaks down. And of course they can't fix it. They can't figure out what's wrong with it. And her testimony is that the broker was just, like a jealous ex-girlfriend, just blowing up the phone and sending emails and texts and making threats and blah, 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 blah. They eventually got it worked out, got the load delivered. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, right here, this is why we are leased to a carrier. Not necessarily this specific carrier, just we're leased to a carrier rather than having our own numbers for situations like this, because we always have that 800-pound gorilla over in the corner. That's Landstar's customer service people, and they do have big hammers, and they can pull them out and use them from time to time. But we would never encounter that sort of abuse from a broker that she had to deal with, which is just won't. They would never make it through the gateways to get to us, right? Now, have I had a broker call me one too many times? Yeah. Have I had, people sending me text messages? Yeah. But I mean, y'all, I'm not violated because somebody sent me a text message. So calm down. But this whole thing, and there's still a question unanswered in her story that I'm waiting to hear the answer, is if they ever get paid for this load. Okay. So she said 2,700 miles. Let's say it paid $3. Okay. That's 75. That's somewhere around $8,000, $9,000. What if you never get paid on an $8,000 or $9,000 load? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Okay. All y'all that are so hell bent on being mad at somebody for being leased to a carrier, you're not a real company because you don't have your own numbers. Okay, Cupcake. Fine. You're welcome to your opinion. But I promise you, if I deliver a load and I scan the paperwork, I'm getting paid 100% of the time. 100%. And I didn't give any money to a factoring company. So I'm getting paid 100% every time. And if Landstar never gets paid, they never come back and take money from us. They accept that risk. Okay? And just about any other reputable carrier that you lease to is going to be the same way. And so there's a mathematical calculation you can do to measure risk. So when all y'all want to be all bent out of shape over Landstar takes so much of your money, we are completely 100% comfortable with the arrangement that we have made. 100%. I would not renegotiate that contract.
You're stepping in all You're stepping in all the dog shit tonight, aren't
Yeah.
you? Couple questions.
Uh-huh.
Is it smart path to run the pre-emissions truck until EV is mandated and skip the DPF and DEF trucks?
Well, one,
Well,
EV's never going to be mandated.
I was going to
Write
say
that down.
that question is really not valid because the EV is never going to be mandated, and I doubt it ever really
The
is
best thing you can
even.
do for the sake of your sanity is to turn off the television. EVs are never going to be mandated. Write it down. It's 9:19 p.m. October 21st, 2023. I have said it, and I will stand on that till the day I fall over and croak. Electric vehicles will never be mandated. Write it down.
I agree, and I don't even think they're going to actually be a big percentage of the industry. So, well, here's the thing: how you gonna plug them up?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I don't think so. Do all drivers in your programs run van, or is there options for flatbed? All the drivers have to start on van because we're teaching. If we use a football analogy here, we're teaching the foundation, the principles, the basics of blocking and tackling.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's more loads for van than anything else. Trying to teach you how to navigate the Landstar system and utilize the load board is a lot easier to do in a van than in a flatbed. And most people who come here don't have the experience for it anyway. And if they do, they don't have the experience enough to get beyond an FB1. And so we do have 3 platform trailers that we let people migrate into as they become available from the people that are in it now who leave the program. And then we have the best flatbed or platform dispatcher and coach in the industry.
100%.
And he takes over those people, and then we've already taught him all the foundation, and now he's working with them on load securement and all that sort of stuff. So yes, we do have that option. It's limited to 3 people at this point in time because that's the only number of trailers that we have.
Now,
Um,
we can say, again, because we have the data, a 53-foot flatbed and a Conestoga make killer money, right?
absolutely,
Step deck, not so much. Okay, but like Larry said, what we're trying to do here is all about practicality, blocking and tackling. Okay, we can teach you the same things with business, pulling a drive in, that we could teach you with platform. But if you're going to be, and someone had asked, I think it was on TikTok, so, it's always, does Landstar have this? Does Landstar have? Listen, y'all, especially for y'all haters, you know what? Y'all Landstar haters, turn it off. I don't want y'all to hear this. Landstar has freight that most of you knuckleheads couldn't even dream of. Okay. They have freight to where someone who has the qualifications, the experience, and the communication skills, y'all, they can make more money in a day than one of our trucks can make in a week. Okay. The problem with the knuckleheads and the knuckle draggers is they'll never survive long enough to build those relationships. Ooh, hey, let's tell this one. So Phil sent us an email that he had gotten from an agent about some big project, right? And there wasn't details, but you just kind of tell this is going to be a big money thing, okay? And it said, here's what will happen. Here's the protocols that are non-negotiable, and these will be the standard operating procedures going forward. You will send an email you will send an email that says that you have acknowledged you have received the freight bill. You will send an email or text when you arrive at the shipper. You will send pictures of the load from all 4 sides. You will send an email or text when you leave the shipper. You will send check calls en route. You will send an email or a text when you arrive at the receiver. You will send an email or text when you are done, and you'll send pictures of the load, and you'll send proof of delivery. All this stuff is going to be standard operating procedure if you're going to haul my loads. Now, what's funny about that to us is that's our standard operating procedures. That's what our people are taught. And also one of the things that they struggle with the most is communication. I was in a Landstar agent's office last week, and she's got a huge poster board on the wall. Do not haul list. Hey, I hate to break y'all's hearts, but would you believe that there's a bunch of BCOs' names and truck numbers on that big poster board that's her do
No,
not haul list?
only BCOs have a do not haul list. Agents don't, you know.
Yeah. So she's got a big poster board with, and there's names of brokerages and carriers and different people, but there's BCOs on there with their truck number that says they are not allowed to haul her freight. Because why? Because they screwed her over. And she still, even in this amazing world of technology that we have, can't get somebody to give her a check call, won't let her know when they've been loaded, won't let her know that they've dropped the trailer, what the trailer numbers are, won't give her this very, very basic information and they've been at Landstar since before there was a Landstar, right? This agency existed before Landstar as we know it today existed. So they know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two, right? And yet,
and they kept the receipts.
Yeah, they have the receipts. So here, there's 40 or 50 years probably of experience because their parents owned this agency. And all they're asking for, hey, let me know when you got there. Let me know when you got loaded. Did you switch trailers? What's the trailer numbers? Give me a check call. Let me know everything's okay. But yet, even today in 2023, when everybody's got a cell phone, you can't send a text message. You can't send an email that says where I am. I mean,
Chris, it's none of their business. Why do they need to know where I am? Okay, because I'm the center of this universe. You know, it'll get there when I get it there. If they need it bad today, they'll need it worse tomorrow.
JD Jeff on TikTok says, can you hire on with an owner op as a driver for Landstar? Yes, you can. Want to see how it works before I get a truck? That is a good decision. And get on with them if it's right. Well, JD Jeff, here's what I'm going to tell you. There are lots of BCOs, business capacity operators. That's what Landstar calls an owner operator. There are lots of BCOs that have extra trucks. And if you call Landstar, they'll give you a list of people that have trucks available. I'm going to tell you to be very, 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 very selective on who you drive for. One good litmus test is if they say they're going to pay you on a 1099, tell them to kiss your ass and have a nice day. That will weed out about 92% of them. If they don't have a business that has the moral standing to pay you properly as an employee on a W-2, don't work for them. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of people that they come to Landstar and they get one truck and they're like, man, if I had two trucks, I could make double the money. And so they have absolutely no idea how to run a payroll. They have absolutely no idea how to run a business. They have no experience dealing with employees, which that's something I had no experience with until I came here. And boy, did I get did I get an education. So yes, you can work for someone who has a truck leased to Landstar and you can see how the sausage is made. And then you can decide whether or not you want to have your own sausage. Now, we offer an 18-month training program called the Masterclass that you can come and do. It's listed on our front page of our website, blueribbonlogistics.com. You can go read all about it. There's 4 phases. It's very specific. It's built through experience of the years of us doing this. And you can come and work for us for 18 years, and we'll teach you his 50 years of business.
18 months. 18 months,
What'd I say?
18 years.
I said 18 years?
They will not be here 18 years. Yes.
Freudian slip.
Be here 18 years.
18 months, sorry. But we'll teach you his 50 years of business and my 25 years of trucking, along with Phil's 15 or so years. So you've got 100 years of experience here that you can lean on and learn from. And at the end of that 18 months, you should be able to run a truck at Landstar or hell, anywhere you want to, and make $150,000 to $200,000 a year. But we do get some people occasionally that see the opportunity. Hey man, I'd like to buy a truck. They come here, see what it takes and go, oh God, no, I don't want to do that. That's too hard, because it is hard. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. It's worth it, but it is incredibly difficult to do it well. And if you don't do it well, it will destroy your finances, your life, and your relationships. So
let
do it
me
well.
add to that, okay?
Go
Because
ahead.
let me tell you to be extremely cautious when you decide that you want to go work at Landstar for a truck owner, a BCO. First of all, there's no requirements that Landstar has that anybody has to meet to buy a second truck or to hire employees. Okay, they have to meet no standard for that. There's no requirement. The only thing that's required is that you must provide their workers' comp because that's deducted from their settlement automatically. Beyond that, there is nothing. So let me just tell you that most of these guys, all they're interested in is making money. They want to throw you the keys and have you go make money in that truck. I mean, I've listen, I've been here 10, 11 years. I've heard all of the stories, you know, because, you know, you would think that a Landstar BCO would be above, a cut above. But if you knew how many people have not have worked for a BCO for 6 weeks and never got paid, um, the truck breaks down, the BCO won't fix it, puts a Band-Aid on it, you know. I mean, you don't assume because they're a Landstar BCO because that means nothing. All right. You need to interview them, not let them interview you. And I would just be very, and it's something, listen, it's not telling you this because I want you to come here. We don't let people do that here. Okay. I'm on that list he's talking about. And I get a call from someone at least every 2 or 3 days. And I can tell that the majority of them I would not let in the program to begin with. And everybody that we've had in the program that used to work for another operator, they've never made it past about a month.
Right.
So you need to really, really, really be careful with that idea. It's a good idea, and if you can find a really, really good BCO that wants to teach and wants to, share with you how this works. But I'm just telling you, there's a lot more of them that you wouldn't want to work for than there are that you than the ones you want to. And
Yep.
you just hear all the stories. So just be really, very careful. Um, there
Well,
was another
so
question.
context, when I had my epiphany in January of 2018, and I wrote this Facebook post where I said, hey, it was me. I figured it out. I was the problem. My inbox started blowing up with all these people. Hey, come drive for me. Come drive for me. Come drive for me. And my initial thought was, I was y'all. I wouldn't drive for y'all if you had the last truck on earth, right? But then I met Larry, and within 5 minutes of the conversation, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This is a businessman. This is not some crackerhead with an extra truck. Um, I I knew he was the real deal instantly. I mean, it was just from the first minute we talked on the phone, I was like, okay, this is a real businessman. So you have to be discerning, and and unfortunately, you have to know the right questions to ask. Fortunately for me, having been at Landstar before, I kind of knew how the system worked. So, like he said, you just got to be very selective. Um, they need to offer you a driver contract, and you need to see a copy of that contract and know how you're going to be paid. Um,
You're not going to see a contract. You're kidding, right?
which solves the
Contract.
problem,
What's a contract?
right? Um,
Yeah.
GK, just want to say I discovered your channel today and spent a few hours binge watching your videos. Thank you very much for the useful information. Well, appreciate you, GK.
I tell you, let me go. I tell you how to handle this BCO interview thing. Ask them for references. I want the last three people's names and numbers that worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
Conversation will be over. Okay. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah, that'll be the end of that. Uh, let's see. I thought there was another question on YouTube. Somebody had TikTok asked about automatic trucks. If you have, if you have an automatic transmission restriction, you need to work on getting that removed first and get some manual. Automatics, and I saw a comment today. Why all the hate on automatics? I don't hate automatics. From a driver's standpoint, I kind of like them. Okay, but from a business standpoint, they're risky. They're expensive to maintain, and they're risky. manual transmissions almost never break. Okay, I I've I've been in this business since 1997. I don't even know how many million miles I've driven, and I've broken one manual transmission. And I don't think we have broken a manual transmission since I've been here. No, we haven't. We broke a couple rear ends, and we've had to rebuild a couple engines, but we have never broken a manual transmission. Automatics, they'll
Well,
just quit for no damn reason.
yeah. Well, and keep in mind, again, remember our market here, okay? If you want to have an automatic and you're an experienced owner operating, is not your first truck, hey, that's up to you. But our advice is always with this disclaimer: you do not want to have an automatic as your first truck, as the first owner operator, because it raises the risk level way up. Because now you have a bigger chance of a expensive repair, one that you're not going to be able to get done cheaply because most of the time that has to be done by an expert. And good luck finding one of those. And so it just raises the stakes higher than they need to be, um, because it's just a luxury. Now, it's not a luxury if you went to a CDL school and you got an automatic restriction. That's a whole different story. But um, even if you did that, I would get that off before you bought your first truck. You didn't
Yep.
have to do that. So. Still hiring for the program, Carolina Red. Well, we don't. Yes and no. I mean, we do have a couple of trucks that are coming on late this year that we need to put drivers in. But remember that we don't hire people here to do a job. We have people come here and drive our trucks and train to learn how to become business people. So if that's what you meant by hiring for the program, yes, we do. We do have a couple of seats that are open that will be becoming open in late in December, early January. They're new trucks to us. So.
Yep.
It
Rocky, yes, the truck at Juniors is done. We got a driver
is.
coming to pick it up.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling through comments. Bradley Gartman, I saw an earlier comment. The agency I'm looking at purchasing deals with A&E freight. Well, you got some money then.
I would ask a lot of questions about why that agency is for sale, an A&E agency especially.
It could be
But
somebody retiring.
but
If they're
if
A&E,
it's
they've
all
been
up and
around
up,
for a while.
yeah, that would not be a bad thing. Somebody's asked twice, and I mean, the answer is going to be easy, but they've asked the same question. That's what do we think about a PACCAR MX-13
Oh,
compared to the Cummins X15?
I don't like pack cars.
Yeah, it's not a good comparison. Well, let me qualify this. We don't own one. We've never owned one, either of those. But those are going to be in trucks that are new, and that's not what we do. So again, I said we don't give advice about things we don't personally know about. Well, we don't personally know about that, but I can tell you this: you can't get that in an '07 anything. And so if this is your first truck, I would advise you against it. If this is a truck that you're buying to replace another truck and that's what you want to do. Um, my opinion is if you can't pay cash for it, can't afford it.
Right.
But that's not the question you asked. But I can't answer the question you asked.
Well,
I don't know.
we had to for what, about 6 months. We had a couple Kenworths that had Packars in them, and I was not impressed. Incredibly expensive to work on. These trucks were one was a 16 and one was an 18. They were both T680s. They both had auto shift. I was not. I drove both of them. Hauled freight with both of them. I was not moved in any way toward saying, well, I need to have me one of these. The thing about Cummins versus PACCAR, Cummins has been in the engine business a very, very long time, and PACCAR has not. Now you'll find, go search and you'll find somebody, I got a PACCAR and I love it. More power to you. But again, we are in the business of telling people what to do when they buy their first truck. And it is our 100% experience-based opinion that your first truck should not have a PACCAR in it. Your first truck should not have a Volvo motor in it. Your first truck should be a Detroit Series 60. Again, cheap, efficient, reliable, easy to work on. GK on YouTube says, how hard is it to make money with a day cab? Sorry for that off-topic question. I'm based in New York tri-state. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. I have no experience running a day cab, but I'm going to tell you this. It's my sincere belief that you can make money with any truck as long as you pay cash for it, as long as you operate a business with the customer as your foremost focus. You can make money doing just about anything. I mean, hell, you can sell drugs and make money, right? A lot of risk, you know.
You can boot semi tires and make money.
Hell yeah. You can go kidnap people and get away with it. You know, isn't it great? I mean, think about how cool this is in America in 2023. That you can literally be kidnapped, extorted, and they'll give you a receipt to file your taxes.
Did we get a receipt?
Oh, I had to send it to Landstar. Yeah,
Send
hell
it
yeah,
to the
they
North
did.
Carolina Attorney General.
Oh, I attached I had to attach a copy of the invoice when I did my thing with the Secretary of State's office, but I had to change the name of the file because I had named it fucking extortion. And so I changed the name of the file before I sent it to the Secretary of State's office.
Gotcha.
Richie's a real big fan of those Kenworths, by the way. He really, really enjoyed his time driving that gray truck. Bradley says the woman isn't interested in the business anymore. Her husband passed away 4 or 5 years ago, and he was the backbone of the company. There's a year ago. And he said he owned some trucks as well.
Yeah. Let us know how that goes for you. I mean, we'd like for you to maybe, come on and talk with us and I mean, not divulge anything that's not that you want to, but let us know how this goes and let us know what you think about it, the process of onboarding with Landstar with your trucks, if you're going to do that, and obviously the agency thing. So we've got several agents who are friends of the show, and we wouldn't mind having more. So please keep us in mind. So.
Quincy Moore says, would you work with a driver out of Minneapolis, St. Paul? Yeah, that's not a terrible place.
You're used to driving in the snow, I'm sure. So,
why did we have to send a copy to Landstar? Because we had to get a $2,500 cash advance.
They only took cash, and so we hadn't any way of getting it there. So Landstar took care of it for us. So.
Yeah.
Not only that, but they were threatening to tow the truck at 4:15, and this happened about 4 o'clock. Yeah. They didn't have a lot of time to dick around.
Yeah. They know. Listen, they know what they're doing. They know how to do it. And I never asked them. He had first said cash. That they would only take cash. The driver had said they would only take cash, and I called them and I said, "Will you take a com check?" And they said they would. I never asked if they would take American Express. I figured they would not take a credit card because they know you'll just reverse the charge as soon as you're done. But again, back to the origin of that story.
Didn't you just give them an express code just over the phone?
Mm-hmm.
Did they call it in while you were waiting?
Mm-hmm.
They did call it in?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, you should have just crossed up.
It sounded like he was doing it electronically because I could hear clicking.
Yeah. So if there's a way we can, that's just, I hate him. It's a $2,500 cash advance. Exactly what it was.
Justin says, what do you guys think about these mid to big companies going out of business? Well, there's a lot of different issues there. I saw another one today, 95-year-old company goes out of business. And I went looking and I couldn't find it. Usually what you'll find if you dig around is that these companies have been bought by a venture capital firm. And all those VC companies do is buy trucking companies because they're cash cows, milk them dry and bankrupt them. But I think anytime that there's a down cycle, the snowball throws people off. And, if a company's 95 years old, I'm just going to go with, what I kind of know about things and people. Generational businesses generally do not last. It's very rare. You'll have, Papa will start the company and maybe turn it down to one son, and then the son will run it, and then his kids are usually useless and they'll run it in the ground. So if a company's 95 years old and it gets to a down spot where it's not making any money anymore, they're like, screw it, shut it down. We're over the legacy. But you got to understand that every time that circle goes up, people make investments, big investments sometimes. And man, they'll go buy 50 or 100 trucks and trailers and get set up. And that's great as long as the market's up here. But when the market comes down, they can't survive, and they close. And so drivers, you have the responsibility to understand the financial condition of the company that you're working for. You need to be paying attention. There will be signs if the company you're working for is in trouble. If you're paying attention, you'll see them. Fortunately, when you have a CDL in your pocket, you'll have a new job the next day. Any truck driver that's surprised, I would be like, dude, you'll have a job tomorrow. Just get on the phone, call somebody. They'll give you a bus ticket, and just go over and get the next job. But and Craig Fuller had a pretty fantastic tweet today. Can we call them tweets anymore? Are we allowed to call them tweets? Are they X's or?
No, they got to be X's now.
Yeah,
X-Files. They're X-Files.
X-Files. But Craig Fuller had a very lengthy post today on Twitter that everybody should go read because FreightWaves has called. They have an incredible data team down there. I mean, dude, they got data like you wouldn't believe. Okay, and Craig has called the freight recession. He's called all kinds of stuff, and he's only done that using forecasting data that they have through Sonar. And he said, that they've lost relationships and marketing opportunities and sponsors because they told the truth, and there's a lot of people didn't want to hear the truth. Craig had another great post I don't know, it's probably been a couple months ago, that said the future of trucking is small. Everything. I'm kind of thinking. I'm equating it. There's the Big Bang Theory of the origin of the universe. That there was this big expansion and then it's coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, I feel like the market. That's what the market has done over the last, say, 50 years. Is it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, now we're to this point, especially with a blockchain, where we have the opportunity to decentralize and make things smaller. And so I think that the inverse is now happening, that we're going to be going backwards, not backwards in a negative way, and backwards in a very, very, very good way, to where you're going to have a lot less intermediaries, you're going to have a lot less centralized authority, and everything is going to get much, 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 much smaller. And so I'm 100% on Craig Fuller's team with that line of thinking, because I understand the nuance of how blockchain technology and stuff like that exists. Everything is going to get smaller from here on out. So and I'll see people, the big companies are going to do this, that, and the other. Y'all, they're 10% of the industry. They're tiny. They're almost insignificant, but they have brand awareness, and you can recognize their truck. And so it's easy for you to think that they're some kind of big deal, and they're just not. They're just not enough to matter, which is why they need the government to regulate us out of business.
Yep.
You cannot.
Listen, if I could get the word out to the industry about lease purchases, there'd be a hell of a lot of these companies going out of business because that's all they're making money on.
Right.
But as much as we talk about it, I see thousands of them every day. And, it's.
Dave Ramsey made a great point. This was probably 20 years ago, that J.C. Penney got to the point, and I think that happened with Sears as well. They got to the point where they were making more money off the credit card interest than they were actually selling product.
Absolutely.
And I think in Sears, they sold Discover to try to stay afloat,
Yeah, they actually sold, they sold Craftsman brand. They sold the Kenmore brand. Mm-hmm. All those things were efforts to keep the thing going, and it didn't work.
Didn't work.
But yes, that's all true. Yeah.
So you have these carriers that literally have a revenue stream coming in from the leasing of these trucks.
Oh, most of them make more off the lease than do off freight.
And y'all can stop that.
I mean, it does two things. It's a revenue stream and it solves some of their driver retention problems, So, 'cause at least temporarily, you can keep somebody there long enough to bleed them dry before you lose them. They can't just they can't just leave that job and go to another one. They've got to do something about breaking the lease, and that slows the process down a little bit.
Yeah.
Plus, they blow the smoke up their ass thinking they're going to become, successful independent business owners, and that dream lasts for a while, and then they give up on it when they find out they're making less than they did as a company driver, with all the risk. But listen, the people that are doing it, it's the greatest thing,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their TikToks are full of these guys telling you how great they're doing leasing from these companies. You know,
I love when I'm making $5,000 a week. No, you're not.
yeah,
Just stop.
yeah, exactly.
No, you're not.
Yeah, he might think he is.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a huge crackdown on 1099s come January 1 with this new regulation that's come out. So there's going to be a lot more effort a new database is going to start. Of course, they got 85,000 new agents that they're hired. But now they're tracking all 1099 LLCs, S corps, small business entrepreneurs. They're all now going to a new database. They're going to connect the dots. Some of this is to prevent people from hiding money by having multiple LLCs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that's all going to get scrutinized now a lot more. And to me, the intent, the misclassification of people into 1099s, I have a problem with. I have no problem with people legitimately being on a 1099. That's beautiful. But the problem we have here is that most of the people in trucking do not meet the criteria to be paid on a 1099, and so therefore they're taken advantage of because, as we've said before, these people are paying taxes for things that they shouldn't be paying taxes for. So maybe an unintended consequence of that will be a harder look at these 1099 people. So be great.
Yeah.
What's the criteria? Well, you have to own something. You can't drive somebody else's truck under any circumstances and be considered a 1099 independent contractor. So
Yep.
that's the criteria. Now, there's nothing. They're all going to come out of the woodwork. I'm not going to have an argument tonight. We got plenty of episodes to talk about it. But
Yeah.
if you have a truck and you have somebody driving that truck, I don't care if you're dispatching them or not dispatching them or what. It doesn't matter. Okay, they do not have any. Um, they have no skin in the game. Therefore, they cannot be an independent contractor. So,
Right.
um, it's easy. And it's beneficial to the person who is providing the 1099 because now that person is paying 7.62% of the taxes that they should be paying for them. And usually no protection for unemployment, usually no protection from any kind of workers' comp insurance. So it's a poor man's way of being in business and having employees, but it's a screw job to the employees.
Yep. Sure is. Well, we've got an hour and 53 at this point. We have any announcements that we need to make? I'm looking for the calendar.
Well, since you ask, since people have asked, yes, we do have a couple of positions that we want to fill come December, January. Um, we've got 4 more trucks that we're bringing on during that time frame, and I think we've only got a driver for one of them that's lined up. So if you're interested in our program, www.blueribbonlogistics.com masterclass 2023, I think is what it is. And you read about it. If you've heard us talk about it a lot. It's a paid apprenticeship. We expect you to make 75, 80 grand here on a W-2 in a year. The program is 18 months in length, and you'll drive one of our trucks, and we'll teach you how to make it make you think it's yours in terms of the responsibility, just not the financial responsibility. And so, therefore, you can make a few mistakes, and it doesn't put you out of business. And you've got 100 years of leadership here between Chris, Phil, and myself that you can tap into for whatever um, knowledge that you seek. We have expertise in Phil with the platform, and Chris with the regular stuff, and me on the business side. So that's kind of what we do here. And the as Evan just said, you don't come here for the job, because you won't like our job, because we make you work pretty hard. You come here for the education, which is priceless and doesn't cost anything.
Right.
So the education is paid for by the profitable and efficient operation of you in the truck, and everybody gets paid because of that. So if you like the more information, check us out there. We've got various episodes to talk about it. We've got various episodes of some of our drivers talking about it. And if you're interested, there's a place to put submit an application, and Chris and I will look it over. And if we think you're going to be a pretty good fit, we'll reach out to you and set up an interview over Zoom, and then we'll talk to you and make sure that you understand what we're doing here, and make sure that we're fit for each other, and we'll go from there. But it's a great program to learn how to be in business. It's not a driving school. Okay, you got to be a pretty decent driver. First of all, Landstar won't hire if you're not. So, and you're going to learn how to navigate the Landstar system, because, in our opinion, that's the best place you should be as an owner, especially as a starting owner operator. And the potential there is 150 to 200 grand a year hauling general freight in a van. So that's the carrot at the end of this program. Um, anything leaving out, Chris? So,
Nope.
and
I
you get to
think
hang out with some pretty cool people. So,
I believe that's it. So
next weekend I'm going to be in Chicago next weekend. So you're
okay.
solo next weekend. So,
All right. Well, I'll
um,
figure something out. I've got an orientation next weekend as well, so I should be able to do Friday night for everybody. So we'll be
okay.
back on
I've
Friday.
promised that I would do this QuickBooks thing. I haven't forgotten. I'm working on it. I'm waiting right now on them to give me the permission or the access to the online software as a demo, so that I can use that to illustrate to you guys what to do. So obviously next week it won't work because we're not going to be here. But maybe the first one in November, I'll have that those credentials, so that we can then go live, and I can start walking you guys through how to set up and utilize QuickBooks and become somewhat of a bookkeeper of your own numbers. So,
Okay.
all right. Well,
Well,
I hope we get our audio problems resolved. Man, we got 17 new messages all of a sudden.
yeah. Well, should see everybody back here Friday night, and with that, we'll see y'all next time.
Good night, everybody. Hey.
Yeah.
Friends don't let friends do lease purchases.
There you go. That's a perfect way to end it.